Hi, I'm Sherry, and this is Sherry on Books. Today's subject is, do ex-library books have any value? A common belief is they have no value, but that's simply not true. I've been selling books for 12 years, and I've sold a lot of ex-library books, and some for a very nice profit. The question is, how rare is the book? Even if the book is rare by today's standards, next year might be a new story altogether, because books are thrown away by family members cleaning out their parents' closets and their own closets. And a lot of very fine first editions, I'm sure, have been thrown out along the way as well. So um, the value of those books that are left has just increased by a lot. And it happens every day. So, and the reason they're doing this is that a lot of people believe that they've got their favorite books on their computers, their favorite ebooks, and that if they want to read the book again, they can just access it. And it makes sense until you stop to think about technology and where it's going and where it's been. To illustrate my point about ex-library books, I brought a bunch of ex-library books from a thrift store recently. I found about 35 volumes out of the 40 volume set, and they are 100 choice collections, and it's basically um, poetry, um, prose, a few plays, that kind of thing. But they're little tiny books. And they were dusty. They were very dirty when I first got them. Not dirty, they were just dusty. Like I said, there was about 35 volumes of these books in a box, and the numbers range from 1 to 40. I haven't found anything over the number 40 in the series anywhere. I do have the 1 and the 40, but I'm missing a few books in between, and I have a few that aren't right from this particular set. They're from a different set, and so they're not quite the same size or the same color or the same quality, and I just, I really like this. Um, so I looked online before I bought the set, and there were a lot of books out there, and their pricing ranged from $10 to almost 100 in some cases. So I thought, yeah, that's a good buy. And we're talking about per volume between $10 and almost 100. And so I thought, okay, I'll do that. I bought the whole box and I brought them home. Um, and uh, by the time I finally started working on them, I noticed that there weren't as many out there anymore. So it's a popular book. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but because of that, what's happening is that they started producing these print on demand books. The print on demand books are created based on copies that come from the Library of Congress, who uh, digitized all of the books that they have and that they get, and then they will allow people to purchase those books and sell them. And so people purchase the books and they create this print on demand, which is basically a copied book from a copier, a high end copier, but it's a copier. And so these are not things that the collectors are looking for. I mean, it's a new book, and for those people who just feel like they need new books, well, that's fine. But if you're a collector, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for something that has age, and of course, these are almost 100 years old. So, the 1866 version of this books are just they're not available at all. And these 1923 Penn Publishing Company volumes, there's not very many of those, maybe 12 titles out there. There's no whole sets at all, 12 different titles, and maybe one or two of each, not much. So these are considered scarce, and some of them are considered very scarce. Um, I bought these books months ago, and I'm just now getting around to actually putting them online, going through and finding out about them. I research every book before I put them online to find out their value and about the book itself. Who published them? What's the book about? Why are they important? Why are they so collectible? Those things are all important, but you can't always get those pieces of information even online. Um, I'll probably sell these books individually, and I'll sell them below whatever the market value is whenever I can, so that the collector can see a profit in it if they're collecting to sell or just to have a nice collectible book, as so far this is it. A lot of the things that uh, collectors find that are that put them off, of course, it's the smell, which we talked about, and that was overcome first by a friend of mine. I had a bookstore, like I said, at one point, and a friend came in and was. Um, I had just received a lot of really old books, and oh, they stunk. Oh, it was terrible. And she said, "I can fix that." And so she told me about this uh, ionic machine that purified the air, and it killed germs. And she said, "This thing is so strong. Once you turn it on, you have to leave the building because it'll kill you." And it's like, what? Okay. So I borrowed her ionic machine and turned it on and came in the next day, and you could smell a little bit of that stink, but not much. And then the next day I did it again that night. Turned it on, came in the next day, opened the doors to let that smell of the ionic machine out. And then a couple of hours later, it was like, oh my gosh, none of the books stink. None of the books. And my store was a little over 1,000 square feet. So it was a lot of books in there. And I thought, I'm going to do this frequently because new books come in all the time and it'll be good for them. So I did. And people would come into the store and would mention how they'd been in used bookstores before, but had never been in one that didn't stink, and that mine certainly did not smell like a used bookstore. And I said, "Well, my books are certainly old." So, one of the other things that people are object to are the pockets. And here's what I'm talking about. These insert pockets, let's see, that's over here, with a little card that slides in and out, which is, well, I can't pull it out from this angle. And then the due date slip. And I just find that so retro and cool. I actually like it. Um, I once worked at the Cracker Barrel corporate office and was asked to design posters for their new library, the corporate library. And I came up with a design that was based on this. And the card actually, from the poster that I created, I put a pocket on it, created a pocket, and the card actually slid in and out. Your local library no longer uses these pockets and cards. They now have this little label that has a barcode on it that can be scanned into the computer. So you're not going to see these on any of the new books. They're going to have the older or the newer method of scanning. Um, so you know you might find that you like them at some point. Think about it a little differently, and I have some more information that might make you like it a little bit more. In fact, um, fortunately, none of my books have those stamps on them, which are just so garish. Um, and canceled stamps, which is just horrible. It's worse than the stamps that the library puts on it, is the discard stamp. But who knows? Things have happened, and maybe in the future there'll be something that will remove those stamps. So there's always hope. um, Also, people have stopped using libraries. I don't know when the last time you were in a library, your local library, but they're very different places. Um, People have stopped going to the library because they can access so much of their research information online, and for other reasons, who knows. And so some libraries are moving books out, and they're selling them in their, if they have a downstairs or through the side door or whatever, they're selling their books and other books as well. Um, uh, and they're bringing in computers. Oddly, most people already have computers, so I can't quite figure that one out. It sounds to me like libraries are going to be obsolete soon. So those little cards inside your library book may have more value in being a retro look than you even realize. So by today's standards, of course, by today's standards, they have no value, and I've already proven to you that that's not accurate. I've had a bunch of books that were written by um, Arctic explorers, and I still have a lot that were written by them, and they were first edition. One of them didn't even have a front cover. Actually, two of them didn't have a front cover, but they were first editions. They were um, otherwise in pretty good condition, even though they didn't have jackets on them. These are the jackets. Um, and both of them sold, and I made a great profit. In fact, it paid the rent that month. So anyway, they just had the covers replaced, and that happens all the time. In fact, even in the old days, people would take a hardcover book that was just made out of uh, cloth, and they wanted them to match in their bookcase to be a match set. So they would remove the cloth, or they would cover the whole book, or even portions of the book, with a leather binding that would match all the other books in their selection. So when the book was in the bookcase, the spine would all have leather, and they might have like a patterned cardstock here, and then triangular shaped leather on the corners as well, for whatever reason, I don't know. But maybe so that they would fit uniformly in the bookshelf and not go in like a wedge, I'm guessing. So the case in point is that I recently, like I said, owned a bookstore and had collectible books on display, in a special display, and some were ex-library books. A customer came in one day and noticed that I had those books and said, "Boy, I wish I knew you had these collectible books. He said, I'm a construction manager at the local university, and we're doing a renovation of the library, and we just threw out huge numbers of books and into a commercial dumpster, just several commercial dumpsters full." He said we were using those little uh, forklifts to put them on pallets and just take them out and dump them, and told me a little bit about that. And of course, I was aghast, and I said, "Well, are you going to do it again?" And he said, "Yep." And I said, "Can I come?" And he said, "Nope." And I said, "Well, you could set a time limit and I'll leave when you say it's time to go." And he said, "Nope, nothing I could say would change his mind." And he said, "You would take too long." And again, I said, "No, you don't understand. You just tell me when to leave and I'll be gone. Just that easy." No, can't do it. So he was a nice guy, but his refusal was kind of confusing. And when he left, there were a couple of people in the store who overheard the conversation. And one of them said that she had read in the paper that um, a, a college student had um, pulled a book off the top of that dumpster and was arrested by the college police. And they handed her over to the city police for dumpster diving. And I just couldn't believe that. And then another customer confirmed the story, that somehow it was illegal to steal. Well, can you steal a book that's been thrown in the trash? I don't know. For whatever reason, though, they didn't want anyone to have those books that they were throwing out. And unfortunately, authors and publishers frequently, through time, have given first edition books to libraries. And so who knows what could have been found. But don't think of your library book as having no value, because, like I said, today it may not have value or as much value, but tomorrow it will have incredible value. If you're a new investor or new collector, now's the time to jump in. Hope you enjoy. Bye.